This entire military is one cohesive, dedicated force. And the threats to our nations, they don't sleep. They're watching our every move. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. They may be watching this right now. Our military should not be mistaken for a cable news gabfest show. We don't care what you look like. We don't care who you voted for, who you worship, what you worship, who you love. It doesn't matter if your dad left you millions when he died or if you knew who your father was. We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, there's one thing I can promise you, so help me God. Someone else will raise your sons and daughters.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at MBRadio.us.
You are now tuned in to Crunch. You are now tuned in to You are now tuned in to Crunch. Crunch. You are now tuned in.
All right, welcome to another episode of French Talk Edition on the Farron Dozier Show on MBRadio.us. This is our platforms for the MB Radio. Make sure you check us out all over the social media platforms if you want to catch us on Twitter, Roku TV, just everywhere. Just Google MB Radio. You can catch the show right there, stream it live. Make sure you catch it afterwards too on all of the podcast for platforms that you listen to. You can catch the show there. What can I say? I just want to start off and say, yeah, it's my birthday. That's right. Yeah, I'm doing the show on my birthday. That's right. I'm committed. I'm consistent. Yeah, I could have took the day off and went somewhere and hung out by the beach or whatever. No. This, as I told my partners on the Sports Collective platform, my shows are a part of my life. Like, this is who I get to be. So I schedule everything around the shows that I do. And so here we are. Yes, on my birthday. I think I've done a couple of shows. When I look back in my archives, I've been on a few of my shows on the day of my birthday or the night of. So I appreciate all of the happy birthdays, all the messages, all the posts. Shouts out to MBR with the duck quacking birthday message as well. I really appreciate this platform, giving veterans a voice. And I'm one of those veterans, retired Army Sergeant First Class Farron Dozier. I sound like this a little bit because I had a massage today and I had the cupping. So I'm a little chill right now, but I wanted to keep it consistent. I'm here to finish up or start part 2 of life before, during, and after service. And today's part 2 is life during service. And so I'm going to just touch about some of that on that transition for me of what it was like. And as I can articulate it with you today, of course, you know, there was a lot of things going on that I had no idea that it was connected to, you know, mental health, mental toughness. Again, I played basketball, so I know what mental toughness is. But the things that I experienced in the military was just a little bit different. right? So I'm going to paint the picture for you a little bit. And, then we'll get into the second half of the show. I got Big Dre's in the building, and we've got a guest with him as well. And I might catch one of the Sports Collective teammates on here later on as well on the second half of the show. But again, thanks for listening in. This is the Farron Dozier Show on MB Radio, streaming live on Roku channels as well on the MB Radio platform. Let me see this. Let me play some PSAs. Matter of fact, I learned from last week that I gotta stop this music before I play a commercial in the show because it was playing through the outro. So we're gonna play this public service announcement, and then we're gonna come back, and I'm just gonna jump right into these conversations about my trench talk experience. And again, if you want to be a guest, just hit me up at Farron Dozier on all platforms, and let me know if you want to come in and share your story live before, during, and after service. And also, if you're an organization that has resources for veterans, you're more than welcome to come and share what those resources are as well, and maybe share your background. And if you're a sibling or a child of a veteran, all are welcome in this veteran community. So we all have a voice to share about that loved one or about your personal experience in the military. So we're going to play Call Me Go. I know for some of us, again, we don't like to deal with drugs. And so some people don't realize that you can control your breathing, which can control your anxiety, which can control your stress just by how you breathe. Sometimes just taking a few seconds of breaths could really calm your nerves. All right. So this is Call Me Go.
Some of us still carry the burden of battle. It threatens to drown us in our everyday lives. In battle, we had our weapons and combat gear to keep us safe, to keep us confident. But when we returned home, we were not armed with weapons and gear to cope with our own minds. I was lucky to find my combat gear, my mental weapon, and it's called Calm Go. Calm Go is a drug-free device that allows you to achieve calm in less than 3 minutes. In moments of anxiety, stress, anger, panic, or insomnia, not with medication, but rather by activating the parasympathetic nervous system through breathing regulation and multisensory stimulation. A recent study has shown that Calm Go decreases PTSD and anxiety levels in veterans, helping those who are suffering and having a long-lasting effect. Visit calmago.com to learn how you can get Calm Go through the VA or with a special veterans discount code.
All right, welcome back again to the Farron Dozier Show, the Trench Talk edition, right here on MB Radio. Make sure you go to MBRadio.us and check out all the other shows that stream here throughout the week. My fellow brothers and sisters at arms have and are finding their voice in different conversations that they care about, just like I'm doing here. As I shared with you on part 1 of Life Before Service, we talked about a lot of the complex post-traumatic stress things that happen to us when we're children and how those can get carried over into your military life. And I was kind of skeptical because I didn't think that, that people would even want to talk about, what life was before service, because, we all join the military for different reasons, for education purposes, for God and country, for the benefits, to support our families, whatever that is. And I just know that when as many people as I've interviewed on these last 14 years or so, what I noticed is sometimes when we transition out of the service, people go back to the same mindset that they had before they joined the military. Right. So I met soldiers who had been in the military who were homeless prior to joining the service, had a great career, 6, 7, 8 year career in the military. And then when they transitioned out of the service, guess what? They went right back to being homeless because that's what they knew. Right. And so what is that? Again, what is that? So we talked about a lot of the complex post-traumatic stress disorders that happen to us or we experience as children. Like I said, the list is about 8 of them. Imagine if you just got one. Imagine if you grow up with one, that I'm a burden on my family. And you get that thought and that experience at like 3, 4, or 5. And you've grown up wanting to have relationships and friendships and all these relationship, business and all just everything in your life, but you got that one little drop of I'm a burden. And when that shows up, you react to that subconsciously sometimes, or because it feels like that I'm a burden. So what do? We sabotage the relationships. We hurt ourselves in those relationships. And probably there's nothing going on. Probably if you ask, hey, are we good? Because I feel like I'm a burden on us. What the person probably going to tell you no. But see, I didn't even know that I could ask myself that question. I never knew that I could challenge that with myself because I thought that voice in my head was me. But it wasn't me. It was the it that allows me to survive life. It's the it that the brain is developed to do, is to protect us. But if you don't know that, or your parents don't know that, or the people in your life don't know that and teach you how to recognize that and unravel that and let it go, we begin to carry all of those experiences because that's what the brain does. The brain has memory patterns, perception patterns, and action patterns. And some of those patterns are corrupted. Some of those patterns are just corrupted information, but we live from them like it's the truth about who we are, right? And so as I talk about this life, during military service, I joined at 19. And I joined at 19, influenced by my uncle who was in the Air Force Reserves. And as I transitioned out of high school, he was like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I don't know. And so he recommended joining the military. And he said, don't go full time just yet. Try part time and then go full time if you like it. Because if you go full time and you don't like it, you're stuck for whatever that contract that you signed up for. So if you sign up for 4 years and you don't like it, you're stuck for those 4 years. So I was like, all right, that's a cool plan. So, there's a different reserves around the state. So I remember I signed up for the Air Force, and the Air Force told me, nah, you didn't make it. You didn't make it for the Air Force, but you could join another branch. So I was 19. I didn't care, whatever. So I went and I joined the National Guard. And that was fun. I got a little bonus, thinking I'm doing big and all that. And like I said, I had a great career. With the basic training at Fort Jackson. I can remember, so when I packed to go to Fort Jackson, I bought a luggage that was probably about 5'5" that I stuffed all of my civilian clothes in. I stuck like I was going on vacation. Like I stuck this whole bag and drug it through the airport. And when we got to Fort Jackson Reception Center, they was like, yeah, so all y'all who got these big bags and all these bags over here with your personal clothes in them, they're gonna go over here in the storage. You won't be needing that. I was like, what? I bought all this clothes? Yeah, didn't even know that. I could tell you, I remember when I signed up, my uncle told me, you want to try to get in shape before you go, so that way when you do the exercise test, you can already kind of be in shape. So I remember going to the park and running around the track and just doing, trying to get my 2-mile run together, my agility up and stuff like that. So I remember doing all that kind of stuff. I did get married. I was dating my girlfriend at the time. We had been friends since about 13, and she went to my prom. She was a year or so older than me. We went to my prom, and then with church, and I'll talk about this in another episode, but the religious aspect of church can be detrimental as we see it today. I'm just going to tell you straight up. And when it comes to religious and religion conversations, and now today understanding the relationship with God, two totally different worlds, right? And the pressure that we got, it was pressure that we got that you can't move in together, you can't have sex, you can't do all these things because you're in church and this is what God says. We were forced, and I don't know if that's the right word, but that's how it felt. We were forced to get married young because we wanted to be together. We had no children. It was just her and I, and we was going to get it on. So I got married 2 weeks before I left for basic training. Now I can tell you that my parents, my mom, my grandmother, they was like, son, Farron, don't get married. You don't have to get married. You don't have to do this right now. Just, you ain't got to do it. But sometimes we think that independence is freedom, and it's not, right? So I did that and joined the military. took off, and of course, she sent me letters and things like that. All the stuff that a wife would do for their husband in the service. But I can remember being in the military and basic training, and a lot of the conversations that we're taught, right? And these conversations are taught to us because they help us, or they're going to develop us to survive the life of this soldier, right? And so there were things like, don't worry about your girlfriend or your wife because Jody's got your girl and gone, and all these things about don't worry about her. And honestly, for me, because I already had some emotional disconnection as a child, it was very easy for me to turn that relationship off. It was very easy for me to turn that off because what they said was, if you are here daydreaming about your girlfriend or your wife or your loved ones, you could get your whole squad killed on the battlefield. And so I imagine myself, in this foxhole or dug in this trench, and I'm over here daydreaming about I wonder what my wife is doing. I wonder what, and then my squad gets attacked, and I'm responsible because I didn't do my part. So at 19 years old, I took that conversation to heart. And so it was very easy for me I can tell you about it looking back, very easy for me to turn that relationship off and do that emotional disconnection. And so, yes, people would run for the phones and try to call their mamas and girlfriends and parents or whatever. And I really didn't care about phone calls. I would write letters, but a phone call, I didn't have to hear that voice because I was in this transition. And I can remember when my brain clicked over from being a civilian or new recruit to being that soldier. And that day, I remember we got smoked. We got smoked like crazy. We was low crawling. We did the M16 range. We had done a lot of stuff that day, and I was done. I was tired. Took that shower. I had my PT gear on, and I was on the top bunk. And I remember just looking at the top of the ceiling as I was trying to go to sleep that night. And I asked myself a question. I said, what am I doing here? And I sat there, and there was this second, and all of a sudden my brain clicked. And from that moment on, it became a routine because I had taken to heart the things that I had learned up until that point, that this is what I need to do and be to survive this career and to survive life, right? And to be present to take care of the people that are around me. So it's weird how you can turn off your emotions for the people outside of you, but then those 60-something soldiers that we had in our barracks that we were trained and developed to die for one another. And it's a different mindset. And so another topic that they would talk about was, at this point, civilians are not they're not going to understand you. Civilians are not going to understand you. And so what that did was, it also put a little wedge between us or between me and how I thought about civilians from that point on as well, because they're not going to get me. And the things that I'm going to do and the things that I have to become and the things that I'm going to see, they won't understand because they haven't been here. And I'll talk about that on the life after military service, because I found that not to be the truth, right? It may be true in the development process, but there's some things that we learned in the service that we got to peel off, right? Just like there's some things in our past that we have to peel off, right? And so I remember taking all that in, and boom, there I am. AI basic training is done. I passed that. AIT. I'm in AIT at Fort Sam Houston because I signed up to be a medic, right? And so I'm like 2 weeks away from being a medic at Fort Sam Houston. And there was a flag football game against the companies, and I went out to play that game, playing wide receiver. And so I went out for that pass, and the guy that was defending me, we got tripped up. The ball was coming toward me. I did a down and out because I was fast enough and I could catch. And we got tripped up, and I hit the ground. I hit my head on the ground, and suffered a concussion, and I was unable to finish that training. They put me on medical hold, recycled. I couldn't get it together. And so they called my unit and was like, hey, you either find him another MOS or we're going to have to send him home. So they did give me enough time to get better, dealt with the concussion issues and things like that. And then I talked to my unit back home, and it was like, well, you can go to Fort Lee. We have a POL. You can drive trucks and pump fuel. And I was like, I'm cool with that. Because I always thought about driving fuel because I knew back then in the 90s that the tankers who drove like for 76 and Shell, like, bro, that's hazmat, bro. You can they make some pretty good money. So, hey, I could actually take that job and transfer it over into civilian life. I was cool with that. So I did. I went to Fort Lee, became a 92, that was back then, 76 Foxtrot, or 77 Fox back then, 77 Fox, before they changed it to 92 Fox. So I did that MOS, had a great time. I'm still friends with a couple guys on Facebook that we were in the same company and at that platoon at Fort Lee. Did all that, came home. But what I want to share is, again, just some of the things of that experience of my military service. There's a lot of things that stand out. After I did that, I stayed part-time for about 4 years. And then I felt like, you know what, I could do this full time. So I was ready to go active duty. By this time, my wife and I have separated and planning the divorce because she didn't want to travel. She didn't want to leave her area, because if you go full time, you're going to move around every 3 years or so. You're going to have to be transferred around this. She did not want that life. And those are things that we didn't talk about before. So that relationship ended. I ended up going AGR because I went into my unit one day and I was like, hey, I want to go full time. What's the process? And the guy was like, the readiness NCO was like, hey, there's a bulletin board right there. There's a clipboard. There's some AGR positions. They're active guard reserve. And maybe you could apply for one of those if you qualify. So I was like, really? So I walked over to the board, took the clipboard, looked around. I was like, hey, flipped through, and I saw HHC supply sergeant position. And it was December of 93 because the position was closing. And I remember it was closing December 27th. And this was like right after Christmas. So like days before it was closing, I went into the unit, and in like a day and a half, I was able to put that packet together and submit it. Well, as soon as I submitted my AGR packet, the state froze. It was a freeze on the hiring. So now I'm stuck. Long story short, I did end up getting hired AGR the next year in 94. So I did 20 years AGR, active guard reserves. What I learned from that is, AGR program is like a secret. It's like a secret program. Like, you got to know about the AGR program, and it's kind of hard to get in. But if you can get in there, the difference is that you're active duty for the state, you're federal, but you're active duty for the guard. And so you run the unit pretty much. And then we take care of all of the local, disaster things and like that. But the National Guard also started to get deployed after 9/11 happened. But what I learned the difference is between the AGR and my peers of the active component was the active component you have one MOS. If you're a supply, you just do supply. If you're a mechanic, you just do mechanic. Well, as the AGR personnel, you got to do about 10 jobs, man. And so the difference is I took on being a supply sergeant, but I was doing all kinds of supply work, from turning in equipment to picking up the food and like just everything. And I had to know everything, which was cool. And I still am friends with Sergeant First Class Landy, who was my S4. We're still communicate today. And he was the one that selected me in that AGR program in 94. So that career, the difference is at night you get to go home. As our peers, they're stationed on a base, and they either live on that base or they live in that community. But It's just a little bit different. Great career. I was able to transfer out of state. I went to another state as an AGR, came back to California as an AGR, did a couple of different locations as an AGR. Great, great, great career. Never had any problems. I do remember one time I wanted to become a instructor at Camp Roberts, but that AGR program is a little tricky too sometimes, because if you do good work, they don't let you leave. If you mess up, they want to get you out of there. So because I did my job pretty well, I attempted to be released to go be an instructor up at Camp Roberts. They was like, nah, you're not getting out of here. End up having 3 MOSs. So I started out with the fuel handler, truck driver, and then I became the supply sergeant for sure. And then I became a track vehicle mechanic, because as I moved up the ranks in the HR program, the different positions, I was able to transfer to different units, and each position requires you to have that MOS. So I actually have 3 MOSs, and I use all of them up until E7 to get promoted. So I had, like I said, no problems. When I transferred out of state, I did a cooperative banners with the Michigan unit I was with, and we went overseas to Norway, spent time over there training. Great career, great career. But what I can tell you, I noticed was every time it got time to deploy or go overseas, I got changed. I got moved around. And today I equate that to my mom's prayers. You know, my mom prayed for my career, and the Lord kept me safe, if you could say it that way. Right. However, I did want to deploy. I volunteered to go, but I still couldn't get out of there. And I believe during the 9/11, when I came back, so when 9/11 happened, I was in Michigan, and we were mobilized to protect the borders for Canada and things like that. And I was a supply sergeant, so that was my job. I was with an infantry company, mechanized. All they like to do is just blow up stuff and go home. So can you imagine being the new supply sergeant, keeping track of a pin to a tank, and these guys want to just blow up stuff and go home, and I'm trying to keep track of tools and wrenches, because I'm not paying for none of this old military stuff. The life of supply sergeant, if you know, you know. Key control, like the arms keys, like they was, let me roll the key to the Connex. No, you got to sign right here. I was told that I was arrogant. I was just confident in my job because I didn't want to be the one responsible for all that old Army equipment, and you got to take it out of my paycheck, right? But it was cool. Great career. Transferred back to California from Michigan. They got deployed. Like I said, after I left, they got deployed a couple of times. Come to California, and during the 9/11 in 03, the National Guard for the California National Guard started to get selected to be deployed, the National Guards. And so I was part of one of the first teams put together to take those units up to Camp Roberts and actually train them to get deployed. And I remember that so well, because when we first started with California, with the group that they put us, we had barely anything to train with. So I remember the mornings where we were doing the 5-second rush drills, that I used my gloves to simulate, gunfire, for them to learn how to practice and pick their locations, the next spots for them to move to shoot, communicate, and move on out. So that was, those are things that we did, and was in charge of the urine test and stuff like that. Like, it was great. It was great. I was gone. I was deployed. I was at TDY for months doing that. And then in 04, we got deployed to Camp Roberts. So I did get mobilized during the war, but it was in state to help the units that were going to go overseas to develop, because what had happened was, if you remember, they started attacking the convoys. So they started attacking the mechanics and the supplies, vehicles and things like that on the convoys, because if you can stop the food and the beans and bullets, then that could mess up deteriorate the attitudes and the mood of the soldiers on the front line. So they started attacking those convoys. And so we were brought in to train and and make sure that those units knew how to maneuver those roadside bombs and protect themselves. And even as a few POL, we had to make sure that, hey, you got to make sure that you know how much fuel you need to travel with, and just all the whole process. Great experience, great time. After that was over, came back home, and then I went to Camp Roberts to work on my Master Sergeant rank. And there's the during the service that a life just changed. So with that, I was in E7. I got my E7 during the deployment. I wasn't able to come back to the same unit because the unit that I had left when I got deployed, they lost the E7 position. So I ended up going up north to Sacramento for a few months and then ended up coming back down to that same unit. It was crazy. Whatever. But when I was, me and my buddy Will, we were talking and we both kind of settled in our space that, you know what, it's not, I mean, I want to be an E8, but sometimes, you look at the decisions that you make and as an E7 and the position that I was in, like I was third in charge of the unit. And I knew that if I took an E8 position, I would be on the radar at some battalion somewhere, wherever. And so I had a lot of freedom at that rank of an E7. I had my training NCO, I had my supply sergeant that were full time, and we ran the company. I could leave when I want. I could come in when I like. It was real flexible. So I thought, he and I was like, man, if you get that E8, bro, you got to be ready because what's more important, that $800 or your freedom? And man, my freedom was worth way more than $800. But I wanted to at least have the ability to be on the promotion list, right? So when it's time for me, because in my mind, I'm staying as long as I can, right? So in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'll go knock out a knock, and then I'll just get that out the way. I do that, and I go to Camp Roberts, and I'm up there. I think it's like the third day, and we do the APFT test that morning. And like a normal morning, my 17th year, I got up, did the push-ups, sit-ups, and out doing a 2-mile run. And as I'm coming around the last curve of the 2-mile run, I could hear the instructor, 1545, 1546. And I'm like, oh man, I'm doing good. I'm 36 years old at the time. I had 1721 to pass the run. And I'm like, we're trained to get that best time, especially when you're in school, because you want those extra points. So at 1545 and I have 1721, I mean, I'm doing good. And I wasn't really even stressing. Like, I didn't feel like I was stressing. And so when I heard that time, my mind says, get your best time, let's go. And so I kick in that third gear or fourth gear or sixth gear. And I did feel like this electrical charge come over my body, like this vibration sensation, but I didn't think anything of it. So I crossed the finish line, 16 minutes, put my hands over my head to get air in my lungs, all the things I'm trained to do. And all of a sudden, my peripheral dark, and I'm feeling kind of nauseated and kind of weird. And I kneel down, and I close my eyes because everything started spinning a million miles an hour. Close my eyes real tight, and the medics came and got me, rushed me down to the hospital in Twin Cities. Doctor pulls me in, gives me an IV, comes back and says, "You ever had kidney problems?" I'm like, "No." He says, "What do you do now?" And then he walks out. My instructor, Sergeant First Class Losbog, he's standing next to me by the bed. I'm like, "Man, what's going on?" He's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Man, I don't know, man." So the doctor comes back in and says, "You know what? Probably just a freak accident, dehydration, heat stroke. I'm gonna give you another IV. Go back and to the barracks, take the rest of the day off. You should be fine." So I'm like, "All right, cool." The schoolhouse granted me the day off to rest. I go back to the barracks. I wake up probably about, and this is like 5:30 in the morning. So I wake up probably about 2:30, and I'm worse. Everything is still spinning. I'm throwing up, almost crapped on myself, like I'm in a bad state. I lay back down. Of course, it's 16:30 because my classmates come in from class, and they rush me back to the hospital that night. The night doctor brings me in and does some more blood work, and he sees that my creatinine kinase levels were 12,000, and my kidneys were at 50% each. And so they put me on IVs. He comes back and says, "You know what? There's a condition called rhabdomyolysis. Based off of your CK levels, your CPKs, We're just gonna have to try to flush out your kidneys because you're in renal failure right now. And it was like what the morning doctor saw with the kidney issues was the starting process of the rhabdo and the renal failure. So I had went that whole day in that state. So, dying on the inside, I had no idea, and ended up spending like 4 days in the hospital before I could even walk around by myself. My family came and got me, took me back home. I go back to my regular doctor, and so he's examining me, and I'm trying to get back on the treadmill to figure out what's going on. My CKs went down to like about 600 before they let me go home, and so he's monitoring my CK levels and the pains that I'm having. I'm still got like vertigo issues. All this stuff is going on after the ANOC. Of course, I can't finish, so now I'm back home, and just going through that process for about 2.5 years almost. We're trying to figure out what happened to me. And every time I got on the treadmill, it felt like I got off a roller coaster ride. Like I was just feeling kind of groggy, kind of out of it, still kind of little dizziness, but very fatigued, muscle weakness. So my doctor's like, you know what, man, you just can't run anymore. And I'm like, all right, that's cool. You know, I've seen people have worse injuries, so I'm like, they'll just give me a profile, and then I'll just do the walk or the bicycle. I swim like a Chevy truck, like a rock, so I wasn't gonna swim. So I was like, I'll just do the walk or the bicycle or something. So we turned all that paperwork in to the state surgeon, and at that time also the unit was getting deployed again, and so we had did physicals and stuff, and so I turned my paperwork in. And one day I'm at the office, and the email comes in for my unit status of the physical stuff. And so of course I'm in charge of the unit, so I'm going to my name first. Like, let me see, because I want to go back to ANOC to get on the promotion list. So I pull up the list and I look at my name, and it says pending discharge. And I'm like, what? Why am I pending a discharge? And nobody's talked to me. I'm like, isn't there a process? So I call up to the state, and they're like, oh yeah, that's right, it's a mistake. You got to go through a medical board, blah blah. But what happened is, this is the mental health piece I want to point to, is when I read that on the computer, on that spreadsheet that said pending discharge, I made it mean that my life was over. And as soon as I made it mean that my life was over, from that moment on, there was nothing that you could tell me. There was nothing that I could see or do. And my subconscious mind started collecting the negative evidence to match that decision that I made, that my life was over. So if I got a flat tire, my life is over. If I got anything happen, oh, it's because my life is over. And I can tell you now, looking back, when I would show up to work and that phone would ring, my nerves would just jump, because I'm like, is this the final call that's going to end my career? Like, can you just imagine like what that would be like in that experience? Again, I didn't know that I could question my thoughts. I didn't know that I could question my subconscious. I didn't know any of that at the time. I just knew that I'm going to get that phone call and my career is going to be over. And so now, dealing with the physical pain and dealing with now emotional pain, I'm going to the doctor, going to the Air Force base that I'm connected to for my mental health appointments, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on with my, I feel weird. Like I would usually leave my stress on the court of the basketball court, so I never really had stress. Like, play ball 3 or 4 times a week, couple hours at a time, or exercise. Like, I never really had stress, but there was this feeling that it was different. And so we tried to talk through that. And the last piece of this is, I'm leaving the mental health appointment one day, and the officer that I served with during the war, 0405, we were together deployed. He passed me on the base, and he's like, man, how you been? And I'm like, man, you don't want to know, man. He's like, no, tell me. I'm like, man, I was like, my body hurts. I can barely walk. I'm like, we're going to these mental health appointments now, man. I don't know what's going on with me, man. He was like, man, you know what? My muscles locked up on me one time, but I got sickle cell trait. So I got to drink extra water, take these vitamins. And I'm like, man, why does that sound familiar? And he's like, yeah. So I'm like, you know what? I think I have that. So I went back into the clinic and said, hey, can you give me a printout of my physical, my last physical? Sure enough, my last physical had in the corner, positive sickle cell trait. And when he said that to me and I got that document, I went home. You're not supposed to Google your condition, but I Googled, looked it up, and was like, I saw that sickle cell trait and the condition called rhabdomyolysis, that people have been dying and collapsing from those two, that inherited gene and that muscle breakdown condition, and people have died. Athletes have died. Service members have died, and they've known about it for years. So I took that to my doctor, and she did some blood work, and sure enough, she retested me. I have positive sickle cell trait. I've like 40% of my red blood cells are sickle cell trait. And then she was able to take those documents and put them together and say, yeah, you actually had this exertional sickening with rhabdo, which sometimes is fatal. So that makes sense of why you're having all these muscle joint pains and all these symptoms that I was having. So I turned that paperwork into the doctors, and then that's when they found me like, yeah, bro, you're not fit for service. And that set off of about it took them 3 years, because I fought my appeals as much as I could. I fought. So it took them about 3 years before they finally said, no, you're done. And that transition for me was one of the most challenging parts of my entire career during service, because of what I made it mean from that day that I read that document online. So the life during service, for some of us, the transition is difficult. For some of us, it's not as difficult. Everybody has their thing of what that is for them in their transition out of the military. But for me, that transition was so challenging that I was dealing with the suicide ideations, the anxiety, the depression, like all those things, and my career coming to an end, not by my choice. Am I going to lose my house? How much money am I going to make? I'm going through a divorce now. It's like all that. Like I had enough evidence of my life to prove to myself that life was over. And as I share with you, I've interviewed other veterans. You can hear it or you can see it, because every 65 minutes, a veteran they complete their life for whatever reason that is. And we're starting to kind of get a sense of where it's coming from. And that's why I'm sharing you with this part of my life during service, because that's what got me to that point. That camaraderie, that sense of belonging. And again, when I talked to you previous episode about the sense of belonging, that complex post-traumatic stress disorder, the things that happen to us as children, imagine you're growing up as a young child and you feel like you're a burden on your family. That fractures your sense of belonging to your family, to your parents. Growing up thinking that I wish I wasn't born, what does that do to you? It disconnects you from your family. So a lot of decisions that happen to us as children, it fractures the connection back to those parents because of a disappointment, from an upset, from a shame, from an embarrassment. And it happens so early on in age that if you don't have this kind of knowledge and understanding, that you might just glaze over your child. Oh, what happened to Farron? Oh, he's shy. Well, Farron used to jump around the room and have fun all the time, but all of a sudden Farron is shy. What happened to Farron? What was the perception that could have caused Farron to change his behavior and not talk to you as much as he does now? And so as we talk about these conversations, I'm bringing you full circle from life before, during, and then after service. And for some of my brothers and sisters in arms, we carry these emotions long before we join the service, and then the military just enhances those expressions, those feelings. Before I end this, I want to say this for this part of the episode. At 19 years old, the military trained me and developed me to objectify another human being to a terrorist and then train to kill terrorists. Now that's what it looks like. Now I'm going to tell you, that's not just military stuff. Our environments do that same training. Our environments train us up and to say, hey, you know what? Don't play with those black kids over there. We don't like them. Don't play with those Mexican kids over there. We don't like them. Don't play with those but those are your friends at school. So how can I not play with you in my neighborhood, but we friends at school? We label one another. Objectification, it desensitizes us from that human connection. The law enforcement does it very easy as well, because I'm no longer a person. I'm a suspect first, right? So you're a Laker fan. I'm a Clipper fan. Hey, I'll kill you because you got on that Laker jersey, or I'll kill you because you got on that jersey. That I don't even own the team, but I would defend that jersey because my sense of belonging is connected to that team, my identity. And we're learning that is something. Can you imagine our brothers and sisters go overseas in combat and have to end up killing someone, and then come home and have to sit with that one day, that brain's going to remember that it's not just a terrorist, that was a human being that I killed. That's a different life. But we all train for that moment, right? And so I appreciate you for this part of the section of the Trench Talk edition. I'm going to come back on part 3 next week, and we're going to tackle the last piece of life after service and how I got to be in front of you today. All right. I really appreciate you. If you have any questions, hit me up at Farron Dozier. Again, for my brothers and sisters out there, you are not by yourself. There's a lot of things that are going on with us. There are a lot of things that we need to sit down and tell the truth to ourselves first, so we can find that space to figure out what's next, right? That camaraderie we miss most, that sense of belonging is so important. And if we can do that for our veterans and for our children, we change the trajectory of social media. We change the trajectory of suicide rates, because returning that heart back to that parent is most important, because of that sense of belonging. That's how we language it, the sense of belonging. All right. So again, if you have questions, hit me up on the social media platforms. We're going to get into the next half of the show. I hope you was able to follow along. This is the Trench Talk edition, life before, during, and after service. I'm doing this example because when I have guests come on, I want them to have this kind of space to share their life experiences before, during, and after service. This is the Farron Dozier Show on MBRadio.us, the Trench Talk edition. Shout out, what's the count? Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm blessed, my brother. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Hey, did you see the game last night?
Oh, that was a good game.
But did you see the shot?
I lost money from that shot.
Oh, man, that shot was cold,
I
man.
hated it, but it was good. Damn. What's in those jeans?
You really want to know?
I do.
Exhaustion, muscle spasms, asthmatic issues, unexpected sickle cell trait crises.
Damn. Are you serious? When I was young, I found out I had sickle cell trait. My mom's told me, but I ain't have no knowledge of it. But when I got older, I had a child, and the doctor told me my daughter has sickle cell trait. Do you know the facts that both parents have sickle cell trait? There's a 50% chance the child may have the trait, and 25% chance the child may have the disease.
Hey, that's what's the count. Do you know that 2.5 million people in the United States have sickle cell trait, 300 million people globally? I didn't find out I had sickle cell trait until I was in the Army, 10 years. Next thing you know, I had a sickle cell trait exertion site.
Sickle cell? I thought that was a black gene or something.
Nah, man, the Latin community is number 2. 1 out of 36,000 babies are being born with sickle cell disease. You could be Caucasian, Mediterranean, European. You already know your bloodline, man.
There is an inherited gene in our community that has been forgotten. The name is sickle cell trait. WDCONSCT, also known as What's the Count, is out to bring awareness, education, and prevention to people all over the globe. Want more information? Call us now at 323-215-5384 or visit www.wdconsct.org.
Some of us still carry the burden of battle. It threatens to drown us in our everyday lives. In battle, we had our weapons and combat gear to keep us safe, to keep us confident. But when we returned home, we were not armed with weapons and gear to cope with our own minds. I was lucky to find my combat gear, my mental weapon, and it's called Calmago. Calmago is a drug-free device that allows you to achieve calm in less than 3 minutes in moments of anxiety, stress, anger, panic, or insomnia, not with medication, but rather by activating the parasympathetic nervous system through breathing regulation and multisensory stimulation. A recent study has shown that Calmago decreases PTSD and anxiety levels in veterans, helping those who are suffering and having a long-lasting effect. Visit Calmago.com to learn how you can get Calmago through the VA or with a special veterans discount code.
Tune in to the Farron Dozier Show on KCA Radio 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Also streaming from the KCARadio.com website on Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific Time. Brought to you by Sports Collective TV, Sports Collective Radio, and Sports Collective Media. We got the Heme Factor, we got In the Zone, and we got Fourth Down in the 20-second timeout sports segment. All for you right here on the Farron Dozier Show on KCA Radio 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Also streaming from the KCARadio.com website with my guest hosts Robert Lamar and Coach Will. Catch us on Sports Collective Media on Instagram and Facebook. And make sure you watch us Sunday nights at 8 p.m. on KCA Radio 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Also streaming from the KCARadio.com website. Music, talk, sports, and so much more on the Farron Dozier Show. That's right. We got a few different editions of the Farron Dozier Show. We got the Trench Talk edition. We got the Sports Collective TV Media with my crew over there. With the Life Towards Sports edition for me over there. And then I'm on a couple other platforms. But that's enough about that. Let's get Mr. Big Dre on the deck with us, man. How you doing, man?
Let's go.
How you be?
What's going on? What's going on, man? Happy birthday. I didn't forget about that birthday today.
Oh, man. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
I didn't forget about it, man. I will happy birthday. Blessings to you, man. And how I feel to be like 25 times 25 plus 2 plus 3.
You know, man, the biggest thing I wanted to do when I turned 55, man, was to officially eat off the back of the menu at the restaurant. That's my goal. I know
you love it. Dorm, all the good places.
The lady's like, you know, it's the smaller portions, right? I'm like, I don't care. I just want to be able to just slap my ID down on you like a truck card.
AARP. Military ID.
I can eat off the back.
All along, it's military ID and everything else. Eat off like you stole something. Man. So it's been a blessed week. God's been good. You know, a lot of things, filtered, but man, your story was phenomenal. And I feel that way to the transition. Like, the military does it builds us up and then break you down to the point that you go from that innocent boy from Iowa on a farm to a trained killer. I'm like, wait, wasn't you milking cows when you were like 18? And now you cutting throats in the mud, for 3 or 4 days, waiting for the kill, or the tree about a half a mile or mile waiting for that shit, one shot, one kill.
Yeah.
A whole different ball game.
I didn't, you know what? I didn't realize that I had given my life to death in the military until I got back into church and realized I gave my life to death. I gave my life to Christ. So it was like, oh, wait a minute. I'm gonna be a soldier now, but so I never thought about that. That never came across my mind that you're guaranteed to die in this field,
no matter what. Every boot hit the ground,
and then you make it. And it's like, now what? I made it. Oh, I made it through the career. Oh, now what, bro? It's wow.
What's next? Wait, I know what's next. And I look at like that. What's next? I did something that's so great, and I did something that's so wonderful. But what I've done to not exert what I'm trying to figure out. Why did I transition from 5, 10, 20 year, whole career doing it? I got buddies who came back at doing 20, 30 years and just act like they do what a laptop was, because don't forget, someone went in when you want to have MySpace.
Right.
But no, all the other stuff coming. You come out like, what's this TikTok and Facebook and what's this Instagram and what the hell, what's this Flickr?
It's a transition, man.
Man.
For some are prepared for it, and for some they're not. And
so life is interesting, and we take it the way we push it, And I tell everybody who out there in the world, people who out here listening to Radio Land, We are the ones and twos that's bringing it to you. Farron Dozier, this guy, ladies and gentlemen, brings it. He brings the heat. God have gave him enough knowledge to store all the needs you need of your vets that you out there. You sleep in your cars. If you have a tuning on this show, you have to tune in on your phone. The majority of Americans have phones now because of AKA Obama phone, they call it, whatever. Average person has the phone now, so they can't say they can't get the information they need.
Yeah.
If you don't want to get it,
when I was doing the search and rescue for homeless veterans, man, again it goes back to our experience of the military, and some soldiers don't want nothing to do with the military. I can get a house. I don't want the house from them. Like I don't want nothing. I don't want my benefits. Like I don't want nothing to do with them, man.
Uncle 73 have never touched his benefits.
Yeah.
Ranger, first Ranger Division, he never touched it. And I take him around all the time. I said, why you? He having a problem with his eyes and trying to get his stuff done. He just, I said, you get all that free stuff. He don't want it.
Yeah.
He said, I have a great pension, 33 years, a mail carrier, retired, pretty good. He said he don't want it.
Yeah.
So it makes you wonder, what's really going on in the world. So when you see people who the females have it the worst sometimes.
Yes.
Like my cousin, did 2 years in the Navy, and she said, because when I got out, I was like, land. She kissed the ground.
Yeah.
She has the worst 2 years of her life being on a boat with guys. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So I just said,
for everybody.
She said, I don't know what it is about it. And she was barely fighting getting there 20-30%. She's been out 4 years now. We have a little kid now, and she's been fighting for 30% for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
In Mississippi. So it's I don't know what it is about our government when it comes to our people, but we'll give everybody aid, all this aid for the military, but won't take care of our own people on the street.
Yeah, it's only like 2% ever serve in the military. Less than 2% serve in the military.
And now we got to bring the drive back, select the service. It's so
they ain't trying to hear.
They don't want to do that. No, they ain't do that. No, because the recruitment is so low now.
Yeah,
he begging people. They get a $10,000 signing bonus just going there.
Yeah,
and I go by the naval yard every time I go out to HB to visit my friend and see the big warships come in.
Yeah,
and some of the space age ships they got now, like is that like dun, 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 dun.
the Death Star on water water.
Yeah, I'm like, what kind of shit? It's crazy. What in the hell is that? So it's like, and sometimes be like 2 or 3 days, either putting what, because the weapons, over there, still beach. So you might put torpedoes on there, whatever, man. But who knows, man? What up, Jay?
What's going on, y'all? How y'all doing today?
Man, how you doing, man?
Oh man, hanging in there, fellas, hanging in there. I'm feeling everything, man. Feeling everything that you're saying.
This man right here. This man right here. See that first name, Lord.
I saw. I was like, hey, hold on. Who we got on the show?
My Lord. I tell him, my Lord. I'm not idolizing the guy, but my Lord, God sent that man for a reason. That man, he that man for a reason. Take it the name. So I call Jay Will, because Jay is a Will. But I'm gonna make a light introduction who this man is, Farron.
Go ahead.
This man I met through another mutual friend by the name of Dennis. I'm not sure Dennis watching, but if you ask Dennis, Fantastic Six forever, and we started a group, and this gentleman right here is a big dog, is a Fantastic Six. And I'm gonna let him tell you about it later on, what we trying to do and what we trying to accomplish among ourselves. And some of the program we got that's can help veterans and stuff we have. He's out of Dayton, Ohio. But that being said, the man is a legendary. God-fearing man, family man, and I just there's love for life, man. I love it about it. That's why
appreciate you, fam. You know it.
So, who is Jason first? Give us who Jason was growing up.
Man, oh gosh, it's a story. Let me tell you that. No, just a basic, kid that, I wasn't the poorest, wasn't the richest, and played sports. That was kind of my ability to transcend from the hard knocks of poverty, essentially. And then took that, went to the military, right? Served, did 6 years. As a operator, and went in originally as an engineer, specialty specialist. So did wiring, ordnance, chemical, biological.
Thank you for your service, brother. Thank you for your service, brother.
Likewise, man. I appreciate it. I do it all over again. You know, but yeah, definitely had some rough ones. Went through the service during my time in. I did 5 in action, 7 deployments total. Um, and had a lot of close calls. Got shot once, almost blown up a couple times. So yeah, I beat up, but I'm still kicking. Got out, took my money. Met some mentors and some got guidance along the way from just, God putting me in the right place at the right time, and created a business, went back into my music stuff, and then started working, doing entertainment, took that money, flipped it into renewables, and going into the deregulated energy and telecommunication space. Took that money, uh, gave back quite a bit, and I still do, but I don't have my own nonprofit personally anymore. And then from there, reinvented, the business again. I constantly reinvest, and now, I work with a group of gentlemen outside of my private stuff. I work with a group of gentlemen, and we just try to provide opportunities to, those who are deserving of it, that normally don't get it, and/or find themselves blocked out of the opportunity to be able to get it, right? So we won't get into all the facts about it, but
Hold,
so
hold
a lot
on,
that
hold
goes
on,
into
hold
that.
on, hold on, hold on. We gotta go back. We gotta go back in the past for a second though, because
I just
like I said, we're not much different, right?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
in how we grew up in our environment as children, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then and today we look back and it's like, how am I gonna get out of here? Is it gonna be through sports? Is it gonna
Yeah.
be through the military? Is it gonna be through the gangs? Slanging some
Mhm.
stuff.
What type of thing? You know what I mean?
Police.
Yeah,
Maybe I can
yeah.
go be a police officer or law enforcement. Like
Mm-hmm.
we all look for those kind of things to get, or I got to go work at the McDonald's or the factory or whatever. Like
Yeah.
that, but
Angle.
that transition and based on what you shared so far, that you found your identity in the sports, and then you found your identity in the military.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
right.
I don't even I think when I was playing sports, I don't even think I really had an identity. Because when you
Yep,
when
yep.
you when you
That's
when you
true.
playing
Yeah.
it as a black kid,
Mm-hmm.
not gonna say I can speak from, right, but
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
black kid, you playing it, you're in suburbanville after leaving, inner city, and you're getting offers, and the coach is trying to make sure you play, and they, all the things that come with that. It's you don't really know your identity. I was blessed enough to have a really strong mom,
Yeah.
even though my
Mm-hmm.
father wasn't around at the time, and
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
she was big on kind of understanding the realities of a black man. You know what I mean, and imploring understanding your socioeconomic situation so that you understood where you are because you're not like everybody else.
Right.
And even though they're giving you these things and these opportunities, you're not like everybody else.
And
So
that's the point.
yeah.
That's the space I'm pointing when I say identity is
Hmm.
underneath is that sense of belonging, right? Because
Yeah.
you say you come from this environment, now you got to be you're the new student, you're the new student at
Yeah.
this new school. Now you got to learn that people all over again. That sense of belonging,
Mm-hmm.
trying to connect with people. And now I'm not. They're not
Hmm.
like me. They're this. Like we don't realize that for some that pays a
Yep.
toll on
Yeah.
development phases
Yeah. Your
of
mental health takes a hit.
how do I connect to
Yeah.
these new students, and I'm not as much as like them
Mm-hmm.
as they are like me, where I just came from, which was an environment where it was more blacks, but now I'm like it's like 7 of us. It's like
Yeah. Yeah. Not even
all
that.
that
When I was
mindset
doing
stuff.
it, yeah, it was crazy. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
that's the part where we point to, because for all
Mm-hmm.
human beings, that we believe that sense of belonging gets fractured somewhere along the line. We know whether it's an emotional or
Hmm.
relationship or
So
parents
so
are not
Jay,
around. Yeah.
Yeah.
so Jay, I have a question for you. So when you
Uh-huh.
like this will be in for Ron talk about, well, how did you, when you got out, how did you click yourself back in society? It was hard for me. I did 2 years, and injury got me, prone. Army,
Ooh.
and I came from a whole family full of Army guys. First Rangers, all my uncles, hardcore. My uncle Virtue passed away, was big time high in the federal government. I don't know if he's part of the farm and CIA or not, but he was always gone deep. Never can talk about where he was at after he got out of service. But he told me the transition, the way we transitioned out was almost like a person transitioning out being in the foster care system. When you turn 18, get out
Yeah.
on the street. So you got the military. Okay, it's
Yeah.
time to go. So here's the DD 214 papers and honorable, dishonorable, whatever you're gonna get, and go out there and try to find out. Ain't no houses for you
Yeah.
to leave.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's
how'd
a
you
it's
deal
a
with it?
rude awakening. It's a rude awakening. So it was kind of weird. Because of what I did, I wasn't able to get my messages about my mother who was failing in health and is now passed.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Sorry for the loss.
no, I appreciate you. So, I when I was back, I became an instructor. Luckily I worked for the colonel of the battalion,
Mm-hmm.
directly, and he took it upon himself to really make sure that I had an opportunity to be back home towards the end. So he made me, granted me the waiver to go for instructor, and I was able to get certified there. But my transition that was pretty tough, to be 100% honest.
Yeah.
You go from having an innocent youth. The military loves it when you're young. They don't want you when you old because you know too much.
Yeah, exactly.
But when you're young, you piss and vinegar and shit
That's
and
what my
fire
girl
and
said.
command. So, they
Yep.
love it. They could brainwash you real good. So,
That boy, your mama's
in
boy.
doing what I did, you know, it was a go. Um, you know, kind of situation 24/7, 365. If I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't training, I was deployed. If I wasn't training or deployed, I must have been on leave. But if I wasn't on leave, which you never really get because of everything that was going on, like they literally would get to like time where they just be like, all right, like we can't send y'all home. We can't send you nowhere. So you're just going to sit on this ship for, 15 days.
Yep.
Oh,
Just sit
okay.
there.
That's my vacation. And like literally, like, oh, you just floating. You're like, I don't even know where the hell we at really right now. But
See humpback whales. See humpback
yeah,
whales.
yeah,
But
but like I got out, man, and it was weird. So I got out and I said, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and go home. I got out. They let me go for about 6 months, 8 months. And then I got recall notice. And then I got recall notice, and when I got recall notice, no one would hire me because when you fill out your form, you got to tell them you're
you
on
tell
a
me, yep.
notice.
You got notice, yep.
So
Wow.
so I couldn't get hired. I ended up working for $10 an hour with adult bills. Ran up all my credit.
Wow.
Messed up all my credit.
Oh yeah.
Pretty much was bouncing around. From friends to friends, was
Yeah.
completely destitute, essentially, just making enough to keep like bills, but not enough to actually live. And
Mm-hmm.
then uh, that lasted for about a year. And then they were like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you good. We're going to take you off a hold now. So I ended up never actually going back in. And the reason they didn't send me back in was because of the type of work I did. They couldn't find all my paperwork.
Mm.
Mm.
So I did that. Finally adjusted, got back, and I don't think I really was adjusted, man. I had so many different encounters. I almost shot one of my AEP guys because when I left, like AEP used to have to be in a uniform when they show up at your house.
Yep.
The
Oh
power
yeah.
guy and all that.
Yep.
For the gas folks. And maybe I'm dating myself here, but this is before you had the digital ones where they could just drive by and get your reading, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Exactly.
and they would knock on your door and let you know they was coming
Yeah.
in.
They
You
cover. Yeah. I
know,
do all that. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
man, I remember jumping out of bed one day in my tighty whities. Yeah, y'all know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
I'm
Sure.
clearing corners going through my house because I thought I
Sure.
heard something in the back. And I had the gun at gunpoint, or the guy at gunpoint, man, squeezing slack out the trigger. And, just luckily I had enough training and enough experiences that I didn't just go full bore,
Full
and just
bore. Yeah.
start
Oh
unloading
yeah.
on him.
Wow.
But he had the little meter in his hand. I'm like, drop it, drop it.
Drop
And
it.
neighbors is out in the street. They like, what in the hell? I had a full blown,
That tiny white dog.
PTSD, double
Everything.
DDY moment, man.
Oh
It
my
was
God.
crazy.
Oh,
It was
Wow.
oh yeah.
crazy. Yeah,
Oh
man. It
yeah.
was nuts
I've been
though.
there, man. I've been there. I
So
mean,
that's just one of them. But
yeah.
I didn't
Yeah. I
Right.
adjust,
know.
man, for about 5 years. And I still
Mm.
don't know. I left this out because I was a trooper for about 6 after I
Mm-hmm.
got out. Because nobody. What I found, which is really irritating, is you go in the military, especially when you do a specialty type of job and you get clearances and you do a lot. When you get out, no one wants you because of you. They want you because of your skill set.
That's all it
So
is.
yeah, it's all it was. So I went into the patrol, and the only people who were really willing to hire me were people at that time, were people who wanted me just to kill people. Just to be honest, right? I mean, you're a cop. You're supposed to be there for the people. Blah 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 blah. But at the end of the day, you're carrying a gun for a reason. You know what I mean? And if you were truly a public servant and officiant, then you wouldn't need to have a gun. Politicians don't carry a gun.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. I think
Now I get why we carry them, but like they don't carry a gun. So
yeah, that's right.
But that goes
This
way
is all
back
in
into the
Ohio,
old
right?
days of why police were made. Police, specifically state police, were made to militia and round up escape Negroes from the farm, right? Escape
Man.
they became sheriffs, right? Became troopers and all that.
Hey, Jason. Jason, we're gonna take a break and your signal's going in and out a little bit. We're gonna take a break and let you get your signal working again. This is the Farron Dozier Show, Trench Talk edition. Big Dre,
house.
Jason Williams is on the deck. We're gonna let him get his signal together. We're gonna play some more PSAs and come right back. Again, this is the Farron Dozier Show, Trench Talk edition. MBRadio.us. Make sure you go check out the platform. Donate to us because there's a lot of veterans who are trying to get some equipment, who are creating their own. I mean, they come in here with their brand new idea of a podcast. I've been at this for 14 years and I'm still humble because I don't have it all figured out. Right. And so if you can remove your ego as a talk show host, you can have some longevity. But a lot of people get the ego caught up in here and it's got to, be perfect and look a certain way. Nah, it's not that kind of life. So make sure if you want to be a part of this or contribute to MBRadio.us, just go there and check them out. You can donate equipment, some funds. Again, it will help a veteran find their voice, possibly their what's next. All right, check this out.
Zetovia salve, made from natural and organic ingredients, good for inflammation, poor circulation, hemorrhoids, yeast infection, lip sores, dry coughs, eye pain, minor cuts and bruises, and ready to purchase at botanicaherbalco.com. 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 Do you remember studying sickle cell in biology class? What's the Count on Sickle Cell Trait Prevention is here to bring you awareness, education, and prevention conversations around the risk factors of this inherited gene. Visit WDCONSCT.org. This is Farron from the Farron Dozier Show, 8 p.m. Pacific Time on KCAA Radio, 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Also streaming from the KCAA Radio.com website, the station that leaves no listener behind, and MBR Radio. That's right, MBR Radio on all their streaming platforms, including MBR Radio on Roku TV, Sunday nights live, 8 p.m. Pacific Time on KCAA Radio and MBRadio.us. The Farron Dozier Show. For more information, search farrond.com.
I just wanna breathe this name. My God. Lift this name up high, dedicate this life, give them all we got. Testify with our hands out, I keep them up in the sky.
I just wanna praise. I just wanna praise. I just wanna praise. I just wanna praise. I made it up out of the city, avoided the hate and the gritty. Me and my little brother, my lovely mother tried to make it easy, but we was some knuckles though. We used to let them knuckles throw. We used to let them chuckles go when we thought about the places we would go. Yeah, lights off. Yeah, no really. Lights off. Yeah, no money. Lights off. Under the candlelight.
That's right. You can catch me on Lit Live, GH3, God's House of Hip Hop, Saturdays at 7 p.m. and Sundays it airs again at 5 p.m. Catch me and One Way TK, my new co-host. He's stepping in. The video shows Lillian and J Love. Shouts out to them. They stepped away for a little while, so I'm holding it down with One Way TK. We have some great talks over there, interviewing some of the hottest CHH Christian hip hop artists, telling their stories, their life. Again, kind of like we do here with the military. What had them find their way to Christ, and the songs that they write. So you can catch us there as well. All right.
Amen,
all right, Big Drew.
amen.
Let me see if my guy's cool.
So you got Jason, got your little
Hey
bit
guys.
All right.
I switched it to the Wi-Fi. Let me get the
Yeah,
Wi-Fi. Get it better.
you still out right now. You might have to go out and come back in, man. I would go out and come back.
Yeah, you gotta come back.
Okay.
Yeah, go out
and log back in real quick.
All right.
Yeah. So again, ladies and gentlemen, this is what it looks like when you're doing live radio, like you're streaming live. You got to be able to handle all of it. This is not perfect. This is not cut chip. This is not.
You know what it is. You know what you're doing. You know, young people out there, you try to hack into our system. It's not going to work. They're trying to hack. You little hackers.
That's the risk. That's the risk we run when you're streaming on the internet, man. It's like you got to make sure. We got a good connection. So, and by the people that are watching on Roku TV, like they watching them on a big screen, so they like, okay,
how do we look? We look fabulous.
He looks fabulous over here.
Yeah, he looks fabulous over there, man. That's what he does. So watch out for the birthday boy.
Yeah,
my boy. Our next week's guest will just say happy birthday, Mr. Linton. I texted him. I said, yeah, we definitely trying to catch him for next week.
Yeah,
but he may be, in a couple of weeks because he's a very important man. I might have in the next couple of weeks, he's saying now, but he have a lot of things going on right now for next week. But he got, man, what we're trying to do initiative he got, it's going to be lovely to hear what he got, to tell you about what's going on in the world. And, Jay Way Williams, great, my Lord. I tell you, the man.
So tell us.
Mess with me.
Tell us,
Lord. How you name Lord?
How do I don't even want to say how do I get one of those, but how you get the Lord in front of them, man? You just can't put that. You just can't put that out there on your own. I'm sure you just can't do that on your own. What's up?
Crazy story. I donated some land. I purchased some land and donated over in the Kings and Queens Trust, and to protect it as forestry reserve. So thank you. So that was how I ended up with it. I'm nobody special.
Yeah, you are, my Lord. We need to go to medieval times. We need to go to medieval times and have some medieval times. This is the Lord right here, ladies and gentlemen.
But tell one thing I want to hear about his story before we go commercial break. We're rudely interrupted by the devil try to knock us loose. You tell us things you're going through. But tell us now about what are you trying to do now in the beautiful state of Ohio, and a little bit about how'd you come across the in-flight situation you're in now, and what is it doing to the community over there?
Yeah, no, man. Appreciate you giving me the floor for that. So a lot of what I focus on now is just, like I said, just meeting up with the right-minded, equally yoked folks through business and personal, and then helping other individuals live their dream. At this point, I'm retired now. I had to build all that up. But one of the biggest things that I focus on is that, and that's what attracted me to the in-flight, with the Flight Academy. And essentially, I knew the owner actually through social network. Him and my cousin played professional ball together, but we didn't know that at the time. I ended up meeting him through his DJ, which is a gentleman that I mentor. And as we started kind of meeting and greeting and learning each other, that's how we ended up finding out about each other. And then from there, we just started rocking. I loved what he was doing, and I wanted to help him out. So we decided to, create a partnership and, go from there. So now I've been trying to just network and build with individuals. Part of what we do is working on EV, renewable energy. I'm in the process of working with their location to build a one-of-a-kind renewable patented program that does farming, and it can be literally taken and placed anywhere. You could put it in the Alps, you could put it in the desert. You could run it on a ship. It doesn't matter. You can put it
Yeah.
anywhere and grow food and produce.
Wow.
So that's
And
what
creating
we're in the
jobs. And you're
process of
creating
actually
jobs too,
patenting.
right? And
Yeah,
also, okay,
and
and
that's
creating
exactly
jobs
what I was
too.
getting ready to say. We're doing it right in the west side of Dayton, which is where I grew up from and hail from originally. So a big part of that is it's a really under served community. We already
Yeah.
know where that goes, but what we're trying to do is bring all of that into the actual academy program there at the
Mhm.
arena and give our kids a chance to learn a patented process that is ahead of the game, and they'll be the first ones to actually use it. So, along with a host of other stuff. So that's like one of my biggest personal
Yes.
and private projects that I'm really
Yeah,
involved
I'll
in.
tell you. When I tell you, for Ron, it's unbelievable the land they got there. Shout out my
Yeah.
boy, Mr. Chris Wright,
Hmm.
CEO owner, and he has a vision. And I think
He does.
when God sent him the Lord to Williams, see, God sent his
Yeah, you
third
earned
son.
that. You earned that. You
Yeah, he
earned that.
earned that, man.
I
God sent his
appreciate
third
it.
son. He sent a shepherd, man. He said, "Look, man, you do what you have to do. Love you because you love yourself first as an individual." That's what
Yeah.
my breakdown was. Me and I was coming out of the military. It's the breakdown for me. After 2 years,
Hmm.
feeling I failed, kind of injuries and stuff. Injuries came, and sometimes you don't come back from it.
Yeah.
You can't
No. Yeah.
injuries. And I said to myself, "It's I come back. I'm coming back with something." But God had something in store for me that was even better.
Yeah.
He says, "Don't
Hmm.
worry about it. I got you." At 17, I owned the house in Mississippi, and my mom and dad said, "You're the youngest of 13 kids. Come home back to Mississippi for LA." Thank God for me coming back to Mississippi. I would have stayed in California. I'd probably been gang banging because
Yeah.
there was Trey 57, Hoover Crips started coming around LA. It was time for me to go
Hmm.
at the age of 13, going on 14. And I lost a true warrior last week with Matthew Berry, the brother of Rerun,
Mm.
Fred
All right.
Berry.
Man, rest in
We
peace.
was just talking about
Yeah,
him.
yes, he was my mentor. I was throwing walnuts on the back of my house and hit his wife in the face with a walnut. Remember that?
Yeah,
Remember
we
that?
was
I told
talking
you the
about
story.
him. Yeah, we was
Yes,
talking
and
about
he
him.
passed on the 8th, and
Oh
his
wow.
son. I talked to Stephen and his daughter, Carrie. I said, remember I got tortured at the house. I hit your mom, and he said, yeah. And we get ready for the memorial service. He
Wow.
taught me the game of baseball, man. He taught me how to pitch. He mentored me and said, man, look,
Mm.
get you off them streets and trying to be something you're not. You need to be a leader and not followers as black men.
Yeah.
So rerun. He hosted. He sponsored our baseball team, bought our jerseys for us, and Darlene's Beauty Shop was the one who put up the money to get our team. We had some of the top
Wow.
baseball players in California. 4 of them went to go play pro ball on the pro
Wow.
ball circuit. Played with Mike Harkey. He's pitched for the Cubs, and David Martin played with the Dodgers. Pitcher. So we brought some heat out of that at high school,
Yeah.
these high school. So I thank God for the mentors, but that was my whole finagle behind that. When you get out of service, what is it that makes you tick?
Yeah.
And what you're doing
Yeah.
now,
Thanks.
God sent Lord back to where his birthplace was to find people a safe way, a haven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It took me a long time to understand that. Um, to be honest, yeah, I don't think I really appreciated it until maybe 10 years ago. And I've been doing business for about 23 years, but you do it, and then there's a point where you feel like you did it, right? Like, I made it. I
Mm-hmm.
did it myself, right? And you lose focus, and then
Yeah.
you have to be recentered. So I went through a
Mm-hmm.
process of being recentered,
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Got your
multiple
chi back.
times. Yeah,
Got your
yeah, yeah, real, man. You get the
see
military,
how to do.
especially doing what you
Yeah.
do. Yeah,
Yeah.
and like, man, to come back and then come back and make less than what you made.
Yeah.
Um,
We gotta get him to
Uh-huh.
get his. We gotta
You
get
know
him to
what I'm
get
saying?
his signal
'Cause
back.
the final question you're gonna ask him is how in-flight connects with what you do.
Yeah. His
Farron,
signal.
what you gotta tell him what you own, because in-flight
Yeah.
is a basketball arena. It's a ball arena, and you got them, you got your teams, and you got them a 3 for the launch next year. So you might want to, yeah,
No,
you might want
I just want to say, thank you for coming on and sharing, your experiences and who you are as a person, Lord Jason Williams, man, because for
Appreciate y'all.
I use the context identity because for men, we already grew up in that situation, trying to find out who am I, what you gonna be when you want to grow up. Like people ask us that stuff at young ages, and
Yeah.
sometimes we just give titles just people off my back because I really don't know. I'm gonna be a doctor, okay? So you just leave me alone. But really, like we're trying to figure out, you know.
That's so true.
But
And
but
be a
but
doctor. Shut up, son. You're rich.
because the
Yeah.
brain is developing. Like when you
Yeah.
understand how the brain functions, like that brain,
Uh-huh.
even at 5, 6, that brain is giving meaning to life. And right. And if we don't feed that information as much truth as possible to that child, that when they grow up and think about, oh, what did Lord Jason Williams tell me? Oh, he told me I could do this and this versus, you can't do that.
Got it.
Like
Exactly.
when your own mind tells you that you can't do that, like when you're
Right.
avoiding being disappointed from something that you saw or whatever, or ashamed, like it's for some, not all, but it's challenging
Mhm.
to push past through those childhood decisions that we make so early on, trying to figure out. I didn't know what it was to be an adult.
Yeah.
Like at
Yeah.
at, at 8, I had no sense of time at 8, but the
Right.
brain is giving meaning to life, and I want people to understand that it starts early. And now you get to be a teenager in your adult years, and if you don't have that, then who am I?
Right.
And everybody's trying to answer that question.
Right. Yeah. And
Yeah.
and, and you find that really predominant in the black community, in the males, because a lot of us go to the military with the expectation and the hope that maybe there's something better,
Mhm.
to resolve an issue or to have an opportunity, right? And then once that time is over, you're thrown out, and discarded like used trash, if you
Right.
will. I hate to say it that way, but I mean it really is
That's how it
because
feels. No, that's how it
yeah,
feels.
yeah, that's how
That's
it
how it
feels.
feels.
You get
I feel.
out, and then once you get out, it's like they give you a week program, right, to process, and
Yeah.
that's supposed to teach you everything you're supposed to know. You know what I'm saying? That teaches you everything you're supposed to know. So you're gonna be
Right.
ready when you leave the military. Now, mind you, we've been giving you a place to eat,
Mhm.
place to sleep, and yeah, you might only been
Yeah.
Clothes.
making,
Clothes.
1100, right? You might only been making 1100, 1200, 1300 a month, whatever it is.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
Thought you was a
but we
big man on
already were
campus.
paying for all that stuff. So what you don't
Yeah.
realize is you're really making about 60, $80,000 a year,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
But they're not
Exactly.
giving you that
Mhm.
check. They're breaking you off in stipends,
Right.
and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
it's like you
Exactly.
come home and you can't find a job. No one really wants to work with you because you're tainted.
Yeah.
Yep. You might
God
snap
forbid you go through a
PTSD.
hole. Yeah, you on some kind of hole. So then you can't do nothing there. Then it's like by the time they go, oh, well, go back to school. But then you're back in school with a bunch of 18-year-olds. Here
Right.
you are, man. I done deployed all around the
39,
world. I speak different
39.
languages. Yeah, you know what I
Right.
mean? And, you looking at them like, what the hell?
I
And
Yeah.
know.
you're trying to learn stuff, remember stuff that you learned back in high school.
Yeah.
So you for most military folks, you're gonna struggle because it's a
Yeah.
rude adjustment.
Yeah.
All while
Mhm.
you're still trying to learn how to come back into the community after you
Yeah.
just got reprogrammed for the
Yeah.
last
Yeah.
4, 8, 10 years, right?
10 years. Yeah.
Excuse me. And then it's like, oh, well, we don't know why you can't adjust. We don't know why you got anger management issues, and and all this and da 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 da.
All
We
of
don't
that.
understand you.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you
All of
Do you
know,
know how to
that.
walk?
yeah,
Can you walk right?
yeah.
Can you walk? Yeah. You know how to walk
Right,
again? That's what it is.
and
Mhm.
and everybody expects you to be perfect when you come back, but you can't go do some of the
Yeah.
things that you do. You can't do those things that you have to do, and
Yeah.
come back the same way. You leave a little piece with you,
Yeah.
Got
and I used to tell my guys that in the service, as an instructor. You're
you.
gonna come
Mhm.
here, and today you might be this person. By the
Yeah.
time you
Mm.
finish this
You gonna be
commitment
that
of
person.
tour, yeah, you're gonna be a whole nother person.
The person.
And
Yeah. You say.
like it's seriously, like when I went to the patrol, they wouldn't let me do death notifications because they said
Wow.
I didn't have enough empathy. And I
Wow.
never thought about it. I
So
was
you put a price. You, you put a
I was
price
like,
on.
we're
You
not
put a
gonna.
price on empathy.
Yeah, right. I'm like,
You gotta
well,
be.
because
Excuse me,
like I
man.
think my very first death notification, I was like, I just kind of walked in the room and I had my pamphlet in my hand, and I'm like, well, sir, I hate to inform you. And I did it just how they said, like, hate to
Yeah.
inform you, but your wife passed away in the car crash, and
Yeah.
we weren't able to save her, but we were able to
Wow.
save your daughter,
Yeah.
and
Wow.
it looks like you'll be going home today. This is my information." And they're like, "The hell?" And I'm like, "Well, like, what's the problem?" I'm like, "I covered everything on the
Yeah.
pamphlet, you know." And they was like,
Yeah.
"Nah, bro, like,
So
nah,
what you
like,
what you, what you
you
supposed to
just
do?
came in there and just stripped the band-aid off. Like, what's wrong with you?" And I was like, I
Okay,
mean, how else do you
but
tell
see,
somebody that?
Right,
Jay,
right. There's no
You
yeah,
know?
easy
Jay,
way.
Jay, what were you supposed to do? Well, excuse me, sir. At my third cup of coffee, we figured
Right.
out your wife had died, and man, I'm
Right.
so
I'm
so
like,
so
Wow.
right,
so sorry. I mean, what you want to
right.
say?
Man, they wanted, I guess they was
Even
wanting
the
me to go in there
military,
and make a soap opera scene out of it or something.
yeah,
And I wasn't
even
feeling that. I was
military.
like, man,
It's the
I
exactly. I'm
military
like,
too.
look, it
When
is
they
what it
come to,
is.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I got
the war
paperwork I
office.
got to get back and do. So let me go ahead and tell you what I need to tell you, give you my information. And,
Wow.
Hey,
and they was like,
that's
nah,
good,
man, you
man.
can't do that. And then they was like, oh, you be you be too quick to put hands on somebody. I'm like, well, I only put hands on somebody that requires me to put hands on them. Like I don't
Yeah,
go out looking for a fight,
I
but
know.
I'm not
Yeah,
going, if
yeah,
I'm like turn around and put your hands behind your back and you like staring me up
yeah.
and down, then
Right.
what you telling me is
What
you
I'm supposed to
squaring
do?
me off. Yeah,
Yeah.
you
Exactly.
squaring me up.
Yeah,
So, so it's
yeah.
just
I,
little stuff. I didn't realize that though. I think a big thing that we don't realize when we get out the service, man, is how
Mm.
broken we really are. It took
yes.
me it
That's
took me really going through a really hard change in life. And I was doing my stuff at the VA and they're like, "Yeah, you going to anger management." Hey, bro, I didn't even know you could fail anger management, man. I felt that shit like 5 times, bro. I was like, I'm like,
You better tell your kids, oh,
oh
daddy got F
man,
in anger management. What? Dad, you
bro,
fail anger
bro.
management. Yeah, you better have to
So
tell your
that's why,
kids
like,
that.
hey man, I did. I mean, my kids know.
I
I
said,
tell my kids all
dad
the
failed
time. I'm
anger
like, I'm an
management.
open book. I'm an
yeah.
open book because I want my kids to understand. I'm not perfect.
Yeah. What it
There you
is to
go.
be
But I
human, this
also,
is what it
yeah,
is.
yeah, exactly. I want to
Yeah,
understand I'm not perfect. I'm human, but I love you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
yeah,
And even though I may come off harsh and stern, I come off harsh and stern because I don't want you to have to go through the experience that I went through.
Yeah.
You know what I
there you
mean?
go,
So
man.
like, I don't, I make them manage, like budget a little bit of money. Like I give them a little stipend,
Oh,
and I'm like,
Yeah.
there
oh,
you
you ain't
go.
got the money, then you owe interest. And they're like, interest? I'm like, yeah,
What's
like what's
interest?
your interest? Like,
My granddaughter, 9 years
yeah,
old,
yeah.
same thing.
Hey
What?
man,
That's why
hey
they be
bro. I'm
$10,
like,
but
they
Hey,
be
that's
like,
cool
Jimmy, you
though. They
got money?
prepared.
yeah.
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 And I'm like,
Yeah.
they
I
like, Daddy,
got
you got
money.
money. I'm like, no,
Mhm.
I got money. You don't have
I
money.
got
So
You
there's
ain't
money.
a
got no money.
difference, you know.
Like Bill Cosby say, remember Bill Cosby gave
Right.
Theo his first lesson about a girlfriend. He said, "Well, I got $200 left. You have a girlfriend." He took all the $200. There you go. Thank you
That's
very much.
right. That's right. And
That's
now
what it
you
is.
really living life.
Now you know how it is. So,
You
but
know
man,
what?
we thank you, man. We
Yeah.
thank you.
I want to point this out. Maybe you can speak to this before we get out of here.
Yeah.
You know the transition that you're in today, right? And
Hmm.
as we're all looking for that, what's next? I caught myself most recently like my brain was so wired to keep doing stuff. Like I got to keep
Hmm.
myself busy, and I'm a very responsible guy. But some stuff I wasn't committed to
Right.
doing, but I was responsible, and that takes on
Hmm.
a toll of how you experience life. But now, I'm in a better, even a better space than I was before,
Mm.
and I have visions for these conversations. Like he's talking about the basketball team, only 3 ABA teams now, because I got a vision for those basketball teams. I got a vision for my sickle cell trait awareness.
Yeah.
But some people are still trying to find what that success is. And one of my players asked me, I said we went back and forth on the Instagram message about what success is. And I'm like,
Hmm.
bro, every person has to define that for themselves.
They
I
do.
can't tell you what success is. I can tell you that it's not a destination. So it's not like you're trying to get to success. But with what you're teaching from education to the wealth to all that, but when people talk about success, because they're chasing something still. Maybe they
Yeah.
don't say it out loud, but we're chasing something. Some people want fame. Some people just want the
Hmm.
house. Some people want the money. Like,
Hmm.
what is success when you try to break that down and what you're up to, and people come to you with that? Like, how would you say that for yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. I think, like you said, success is always definitional to the person, right? But for me, the way I kind of break success down is if you look yourself in the mirror and you feel you're leaving a footprint that's bigger than you, you're successful in whatever it is you've done. That goes from just handing out, my nonprofit, we used to feed and give clothes. We do it in other ways now, and I just donate direct. But, you know, the hugs and the smiles and the kisses you get from people, um, that for me was a defining moment. When I was doing that, I was using my state trooper money. I literally would take like multiple paychecks and just go out and buy all the stuff. And then I had a few dedicated donors that would always kind of fill the gap if I needed it.
Right.
So yeah, success is something like to me, it's a hook in your house. If you could come in your mental state, look yourself in the mirror and say, I've done something bigger than myself, and I'm leaving a long footprint,
Yeah.
then you should feel successful. Because $1 to one man is not enough.
Right.
To another man, it could solve the issue completely, right? So you
Exactly.
can't look at it as
Exactly.
a
Exactly.
monetary. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
Thank
Cool.
you,
I
man.
hope
We
that
thank
I
you,
hope that
man.
answers it.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
do.
yeah. No, it's good. Like I said, you pointed to there's really no right answer because each one of us has whatever that is for us, and it's also an
Yeah,
experience. Like you can
yeah.
experience being successful right now. If
Hmm.
you're able to just look back and be like, oh man, I've done this and I'm currently doing this, and like that's success right now in the moment. Sometimes we think
Yeah,
it's outside of us, and I gotta go
right,
chase it, and then you gotta figure out what's driving you, what's to do, all that stuff that we get
right.
caught up in as
when
people.
you when you
That,
live in history, you can't understand the impact because you're in the
Right.
moment. So I had a mentor tell me it's like success is an ever evolving game like ball of
Yeah.
wax, right? When you don't got a
Mhm.
a vehicle or transportation, you want to be the guy with the skateboard. The guy with the skateboard wants the guy with the bike. The guy with the bike wants the
Exactly
hoopty
right.
car. The hoopty car wants to, you know what I mean? So it's like you're always
Exactly.
evolving.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing to think about with success. So that's why as you start to fill the gap of what it is you're searching for, you
Yeah.
start to redefine yourself in that level of success,
And I
right?
love yeah.
And when that happens, that's when I think you start to evolve bigger as a person because it's like everybody needs money. So everybody starts off looking for money. But once you
Yeah.
start making that tag and you start getting comfortable, you go like, it's nice, but like I'm at a point where I'm not searching a check anymore. Right.
Right.
I
yeah,
won't turn it down,
exactly.
but I'm not like searching for it. Right.
Right.
Exactly.
So
It's
then you
that
start to,
fulfillment we're looking for.
yeah,
That fulfillment.
right, right. So your success starts to become a little bit different, right?
Yeah.
What you feel will be
Gotcha.
a version of success. So I think
Yeah.
that would
All
be
right.
that. I wanted to make sure I threw that out there for people who are
Yeah,
listening.
for sure. For sure.
Okay.
Thank you so
All right.
much, man. We appreciate you for
Yeah.
hanging
No,
out
thank
tonight
y'all.
with us too, man.
Thank
How
y'all.
can we find you before we leave? How can we find you, man? How can people find you
Um,
interested in programs, donate money to your cause, sponsorship?
yeah,
How can they
yeah.
find you guys?
No, most definitely. I appreciate it. The best way to find me is just look up a company called The Lower Bill, right? Co.com. So the
Very
lower
good.
bill company.com. If you just Google search that, you'll find us. And from there, all of our information, all of our different companies are there. You can reach out, contact us
Okay.
directly.
All
We
right.
do tons of, revenue agreements. We do tons of partnership opportunity on projects from solar to chargers to arena space.
Yes, sir.
You name it. The name of the game is building a community, right? A
Yeah,
tribe
for
that's
Ron's new ABA
self-contained.
team expansion.
Yeah,
For
yeah. So
Ron's
you gotta
ABA
gotta
team
get
expansion.
gotta get with us, man. You know what I mean? But like seriously,
Oh,
because
yeah.
we can't do it by ourselves,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
So
it's all about helping
the
each other.
vision for the ABA, I'll tell you real quick. The vision for the ABA team is because my thing is going back and reconciling relationships with children and their parents, right? And
Hmm.
so with the layers that we've peeled off, we know that we lose a lot of our children in that transition between 12, 13, elementary, middle school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? And by the time I'm in middle school, I'm really not talking to my mom and dad no more because I'm kind of disappointed in them or whatever happened. So now I'm turning to
Hmm.
my peers for what? Acceptance and love. And we know that's all trial and error. Right.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so with the curriculum that we have, we want to be able to have the basketball players that play for us have a job by going
Hmm.
into the schools, and we'll get the contracts into the elementary, middle schools, high schools to teach our curriculum to the players. Then the players can go into the schools and work those programs. And so now you're not just playing ball for us,
Mm-hmm.
but you can actually come with us and have a job, right? And then
Right.
now we're teaching this curriculum to the community the child's gonna go home to the parents, and the parents will be like, "What did you do to my child? Why did they come home to?" Yeah, because we got something for you too, mom and dad. So now we're healing.
Come to PSA meetings. Yeah, come to PSA meetings.
We're healing that relation, that sense of belonging for that child back to that parent. So by the time he's in that adolescent age, hey, you know what? The Bible says, honor your father and mother. I'm not gonna love my mom and dad every day, but it's how I think about them. And if I don't think you care about me, then I'm gonna go do something crazy. And if you ain't paying attention to me, I'll go do something crazy. So make sure you pay attention to me. Like we know that happens. And so how can we correct that? I can't go to all the schools myself. Right. So if I can have these basketball platforms, we can chase a championship in the ABA, but also there's some community work that we can get these guys, because now we're helping the adult basketball players with the identity crisis of chasing that hoop dream. You know, what's next? You could be a coach or this or that. So that's why I purchased the 3 teams that I have, because now I'm in Riverside County, I'm in Ventura County, and San Bernardino County. And if we can get those contracts in those schools, we've taken over lunch programs. So now we're doing it right now. So we know it works. And then
come Ohio's next.
Yeah, we definitely got to get together. You know, a portion of what we do is grants and stuff. So I help individuals like yourself. You know, we have a section of our company that just focuses on education grants, and then we have another department of them that focus on just strictly like standardized grants, right? And scholarships to economic assistance programs. We have access to over like $21 billion worth of financial and federal assistance programs that we use and we pass over to our other kids. You know, because we get kids who are in here who come from, you know, a tough life, you know, and the situation of just feeling like somebody cares, you know, like, man, you know, coach had me go up to the office, you know, I'm up in the office talking to one of the owners, and he's like, hey man, I want you to talk with this person. We're gonna help you, you know, help your mom make sure that she can make rent this month or pay that electric bill or gas. So, you know, you can focus and be here, and we know you're a senior, so we're gonna help you get that money so you can, you know, apply for colleges, you know, because a lot of times you just can't, a lot of kids just don't got the money to even pay for the damn tuition,
but
not a tuition, but the
you
application.
talk about elementary school. I'm worried about how you want me to pay attention in class in elementary, middle school, when I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna eat at home.
I'm gonna eat.
Like
That was me.
and so I'm not even focused at the lowest level of elementary, middle school students. Man.
I had the biggest chip on my shoulder back then. I was running with the gangs and in trouble all the time, and you know, but my mom was working 2-3 jobs and what nobody else there. So I was trying to figure out who I was from the wrong group of folks. You know, luckily I had good people around me that kind of kept me out of trouble. But you know, you ain't got a whole leash around your neck. And you a ravaged dog.
You gonna figure it out anyway. You gonna figure out something anyway.
That's right.
And lastly, our program is also for veterans, because it's a human being function. So we talk about now what you said, having a job making $10. That veteran can come and get trained with us, transform their life with us, and now teach this education. Because who do the children look up to? Athletes, military, you know. So if we can get veterans jobs to now become those instructors and teaching that curriculum. So now we're creating jobs, but we're not giving away backpacks. We're transforming lives.
Exactly. That's what we're focusing on over here, is trying to give, you know, like we could teach a kid, you know, and give them a skill set. But when you talk about having the opportunity to touch some of the areas that we can touch, that our kids systematically are already programmed to be out of. And now we can show you, hey, we're going to show you how to actually do this patented program that nobody else can do unless they use us. Right. We can really give them an opportunity and a step up. Right.
It restores that sense of belonging.
That's right. Food never's gonna go nowhere. Power's never going nowhere. So this is something that, like you said, builds that self of belonging. It builds the financial infrastructure of it. The socioeconomic balance starts to happen, and because you're doing it right there in their community, it immediately impacts the community as a whole. You know, so it's I think a holistic approach. It's not going to fix everything, but definitely a way to
the ones that are willing. The ones that are willing to come and learn and develop, we got it for you. But guess what it's going to do? It's going to rub off on the other ones, because the seeds are planted, and they may not get it that day, but they're going to come and like, hey, why you doing that? Wait, what is that about? And so
Yeah.
here we
That's
are.
it.
But if I
There
have
you
that
go.
mindset, like you said, of I could go and do that, and then I go home and sit in my room, like, nah, I can't do that. I ain't good enough for that.
Right.
Like
Right.
that's that
I mean,
self
hey, we all
sabotage.
been there, man. Everybody on this call's been there. It's been
That's what
times
I'm
where like,
saying.
man, I was in them suburb schools, man, and I'm like, I remember the first time they whipped out a computer. And it was back, oh God, I'm dating myself, right? Back with the green screen, right? And the flip flop floppy disk or
Oh
whatever,
yeah.
right?
Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
And
yeah. Okay, you
Oh
good?
yeah.
You good? You
I
good?
just found one. I just found one of those in my stuff in the garage.
You good? You
A
still
floppy
good?
disk.
You
8-track
good?
tape.
so,
I'm
you know,
55 today, so we right there. You good?
it
I'm
was,
those my
but
Yeah.
days too.
it was crazy. And by the way, happy belated birthday. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
thank you,
crazy.
thank you.
You
Yeah.
welcome, brother. It was crazy. But you know, like
Yeah.
going from a school who barely has books to a school that like
Right.
they got computers and they trying to teach me in the computer. I'm like, what? Like, I don't get it. I don't understand it. And I feel stupid, you know. And then it's like, oh,
Yeah.
you could do anything you want to do. They tell you all this stuff, and you go home, you're
Yeah.
like, yeah, but like I
Not
love to
me.
try to play the flute, but I can't afford the flute. I love to go play
Yeah.
for the basketball team, but
Yeah.
I can't afford to
To
pay for
get
the
no
Get a
tryouts,
shoe. Get a
shoes.
or
shoe.
you know, I
Get a
can't
Tryout.
get the
shoe.
shoes, you know, like you said, you know. So
Man,
it's like,
that's it.
damn, I can't. You know, I was
That's what
begging
we
people for
talking about.
quarters. You know,
Man,
That's
I
what
used
we
to have to
talking about.
beg people for quarters to get lunch.
That's
You
what we
know,
talking about.
yeah.
so it's
Lord
crazy.
Jason.
You know,
And
That's where we want to make that impact at right there.
yes, right
yeah,
there, man.
yeah.
And
Man, thank you
thank
for
you,
hanging
man.
out tonight, man. We
Oh,
really appreciate it. Pleasure talking to you,
Sure.
sharing with these
it's a
veterans of this
blessing.
network,
Thank you
man.
guys.
And on Sunday nights, you got
Oh yeah,
bags,
you gotta
bags for
come.
the
You gotta come
family.
to the sports show on Sunday because you got you got
Yeah,
some
yeah,
athlete career
yeah,
back
yeah.
there. That's a whole nother conversation we can talk about.
Oh
So
yeah, in
it
Yeah,
Ohio,
ties in
man.
yeah,
together back to what we
yeah.
talked about today. So yeah, I got a whole
Ohio,
sports
Most
in
question
deaf,
for you,
Ohio,
man.
yeah.
most
Because
deaf, man.
we got a platform every Sunday night at 8 o'clock. We got bags to chase. It's the boxing show with
Yeah,
me and your boy, and we doing a live once again.
yeah.
Okay.
12-12-1 West Olympic East Edge Plaza, where we doing a
Hammers
live
and
show for a new
nails.
Mm.
all male salon, Hammer the Nails.
And
The
my
man
beard
go out and
done.
get pampered. Oh yeah, get the beard
Yeah,
done.
look, me and you
Yeah,
both. I can get
it's
all
for
this
me.
cleaned up,
Yeah,
man.
it's for men. It's for men, dude. It's just for men. And shout out my boy, Fez Russell, the owner over there, and we're
Yeah,
doing a live show there next month. So we getting ready for it. He's very excited about it. Farron, I talked to him yesterday.
that's
I'm about to
cool.
look at the place for the construction. It's gonna be massively. It's right in
Yeah,
the middle of Plaza, but he got apartments above it. So he gonna make killing. Oh my
wow.
Mm.
God, he gonna make Gelson's next door to it, right next door to it, Gelson's.
Yeah,
So he gonna make money, out here. So he's
we're gonna have
excited
some fun
about us
over there.
doing a lot.
Yeah,
Thank
We'll
you,
be
thank
live.
that's not dope.
Yeah.
All
So
right,
we
gentlemen.
doing.
I appreciate y'all for hanging out tonight with us.
Thank
And
you for
those
having
that
me.
are watching, again, you can make sure you follow us. Follow me at Farron Dozier on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you want to be a guest, you got some questions, we'll post the episode here tonight anyway, so you'll be able to rewatch it on all the streaming
Yes, sir.
platforms. You
You
get your
got me.
podcast.
Email me at BigDreAdams66 Gmail if you want to be a guest, and talk about the issues at hand and any charitable donations you want to get to us. You can hit my boy Farron at Farron Dozier. He
Yeah.
can have a place pick up to grab his stuff. Anything you want to do with my boy, my Lord Williams. My boy Williams. When you out dating Ohio, drop by, see my boy
Hey,
Inflat over there.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
keeping.
oh
I have to
yeah.
be. I'm gonna keep my. I have to put my rank in front of mine, man. I still got my identity in my rank, man. So my rank come first, man. I don't know.
Period.
I like the Lord thing, but everybody can't earn the Lord or the SFC. So I mean, you can
Nope,
go hand in
nope,
hand with me. They go
nope,
hand in hand with
nope.
me.
That's right. That's
You
right.
can't do it, man. But thank you, man. I appreciate
Yeah,
you,
appreciate
Jay,
I
you,
for
man.
appreciate you
coming on,
both.
man. Definitely,
Thank you.
man. We'll holler
Thanks for
later in the
hanging in
week.
there with
All
your
right.
signal
Oh,
too. Man.
and
Thanks
by
for
the way,
hanging.
gentlemen, I found out today I am being honored on the 29th of this month from the city council. They give me an award recognizing the city council. I'm getting 2 awards.
Okay,
Oh
okay,
man, congrats,
okay.
brother.
Thank you, man, for my service and helping out in homeless, domestic violence, and of course, to my Black Chambers conference. I'm
All
gonna
Nice,
right, all right, all
So
right.
I just found out
Yeah,
they called me this morning
be
to say you've
ready.
been out. I'm be shooting booted
nice.
with
Can't
29th.
Yeah.
be ready.
It'll be live. You get a chance to see how I really look. I get all shaken up.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
yeah,
I
right,
can't
right.
wait, man. Yeah, God is good. But thank you, gentlemen. Thank you
Thank you,
again.
Thank
thank you
you.
both. I
Jay,
appreciate you both for hanging out.
God
Appreciate
bless.
you.
Peace
Appreciate you.
out,
God bless.
gentlemen. Peace out.
God bless.
All
God
right.
bless. All right, this is again the Farron Dozier Show, Trench Talk Edition, right here on MBR Radio. I don't know. I got class tonight. I do landmark education seminar, so I can't even go out tonight because I got my personal development is number one. So I'm gonna be in class tonight doing one of my seminars that I'm in. Always important to make sure you look. You got mental health, you got your spiritual piece, you got there's personal development courses out there. You can take classes if you got enough courage and confidence, and you really want to work on yourself and find out what's going on with you. It starts with you first. Self-forgiveness first. So find something that works for you. If it's mental health, I recommend for us as veterans, cognitive behavior, CBT from the VA. I recommend it top notch. You put those stories in that conversation, you can start to peel off how we think. Sometimes we use words like all or none, and those our own language can be your trap. Sometimes you just can't say I don't like people. Now maybe there's a percentage of you that don't like people. Maybe I don't like people 50% of the time. So then you can't say that, right? So how we talk and how we think and grabbing those thoughts and putting those stories in those conversations, I recommend CBT, cognitive behavior. I do personal development courses as well out of my own pocket. And I got church. I found my way back to Christ. And let me tell you, those kingdom principles, all those mental health classes, personal development classes, guess where they get their conversations from? The Bible. Those are biblical principles, right? So find something. LBI Solutions. You can come hang out with us at LBI Solutions if you want to figure out how we use our program to help support veterans and youth suicide and those kind of conversations. There's education out there. Sometimes a 10-minute conversation could save someone's life. Just a 10-minute conversation could help someone save their life. So I appreciate you for listening in. This is the Farron Dozier Show. Shout out to what's the count.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.